Hey there, YouTube. So, I do have a few new weathering products. I mentioned them in my last cruiser update. And before we get to the cruiser episode, weathering the interior, I'm going to go ahead and experiment with the D110 interior. There's a video up that shows how we did the outside weathering, and it was just kind of a crapshoot, learning as we went. Making my own wash, accidentally made a brown wash, and it came out pretty good. I got lucky. So, but now I do have a pigment binder by Vallejo, and I did get some black pigment. Try to not necessarily do like a black wash, but to get a little. You want to look like there's a little dirt in the cracks and the grooves and stuff. And this is a Vallejo Sepia, however you say it. It's a wash. It's watered down acrylic, and it looks pretty dingy. I did try it out here on this wheel. This was a black wheel, and I did a flat wash, and then I did the sepia wash on top of it. And I think it looks pretty good. I'm still going to try to do some rust on top of that. Try out this pigment binder. This is my experiment wheel here. So, but for now, we're going to go ahead and experiment with the interior of the D110. So I'm going to go ahead and strip it apart, and then we'll get started. Alright, so we got it all apart. I don't know if you ever really saw the detail that we got in here. This front piece is the only piece left of the original interior. Front floorboards, dash, door panels, and the rest of it is just sheets of styrene glued on top of the old seat base, and just made tire wells in the back. They're probably a little tall, but you know, this was my first real scratch built interior, so I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It does have a little bit of fitment issue in the corners, bending that down a little bit, scratched off a few places just from taking it on and off the body a few times. The door panels were glued down, they keep popping loose. So they're kind of a tight fit in the body between the door panel and the dash, so it kind of gets stuck. Sometimes you take it off, you get the door panels out, sometimes you don't, sometimes they stick to the dash. But I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the bed floor in the back with the black pigment and the pigment binder. Try to get some texture, some depth to these ribs in the floor here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. Alright, I'm ready to start. I haven't done any real test on this yet. I did the hood of the blue truck back there, just a tiny little bit on the cowl with the black wash, or the black pigment, and the pigment binder. And it almost turns out like a wash. It looks horrible, and then you wipe it down. So I'm just going to keep doing it that way for now until we learn otherwise. Try to get the camera up here so you can actually see what's going on. I'm going to start on this side where it's open and clear. Now I'm just going to run up and down these cracks with the pigment binder on both sides. I do have a old t-shirt standing by, ready to wipe all this mess off in case we screw it up pretty bad. And this is pretty watery. Alright, and shirt. Now we're just going to dip. And it really changes the how the pigment lays. When you brush it on dry, it gives you a look, but like I said, it's not permanent. Yeah, this stuff, I mean, it is a little bit wasteful, I guess, because we are going to put it on pretty thick and then we're going to wipe it off. But I don't know any other way to do it. Like I said, I'm still learning. This is only the third or fourth thing that we've actually weathered with powders, so it's all still learning. Get that out of the way. Got the fan over here pointed on it. Just kind of dry it down some. Find a clean edge on this t-shirt. Start lightly wiping down here. I already knocked a bunch of pigment off on my hand. So I'm really not happy with the Cruiser right now because the interior is still perfectly finished and the exterior looks terrible. Looks old and distressed. So this one, it wasn't as bad because I didn't weather it as severely. But really want to get that interior and that Cruiser done. But I need to try a few things first because, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just learning as we go. That pretty much looks like I was hoping it would. That worked out pretty well. It's going to be a little tricky to get the inside down here because I can't get in there and knock it out like I did. But we'll figure it out. Now we've got a little bit of pigment mixed in already on the brush. Now we may not even have to dip it into the pigment this time. I kind of feel bad doing this to the D110, kind of using it as a guinea pig, because I never meant to buy the D110. It was sent to me by mistake, and it turned out a really neat truck, and I really like it. So I really don't want to screw it up, but got to try on something, and that I've done a little bit step along the way on each Hilux that I have. So this is the only one I have a real serious interior in other than the Cruiser. So we're just gonna experiment with this. And forgive me if I can't keep the camera in focus. I shoot all this on a DSLR. I don't have a real video camera. I mean, it is a real video camera. It shoots HD, but it's not a video camera, let's say. So yeah, this is looking pretty good. I just wanted a little bit of an age to it. Add a little bit of depth. Anywhere that there's a body line or like these bed rail looking, I don't know what you call that corrugated style. Looks like a truck bed that I did. I just wanted to add a little bit of depth to it. Go ahead and put a little in the bottom here. I'll take it easy down here because I don't want to be able to wipe it out as easily. Oops, a little too much. Getting that crack between the edges there pretty good. Can't see that edge. Back. Alright. These pigments are so fine, so thin. It might look better with that dirtier down there. It makes sense because that's where it's going to be more heavily traveled on the floor than it is up on the where the seats would be if it was a real D110. I just wasn't a fan of the stock interior that came with the D110s, or the D90s for that matter. D110 wasn't complete. Of course, it only comes with the D90 interior. But the rear sideways facing seats just didn't look scaled. They looked like what it was originally. That body was for like a Toys R Us kind of RC car. I never had them over here, but it just didn't look scale enough. The seats were you could see casting lines where it was molded, and the texture didn't look right. It looked like just a crap toy. That's why I didn't opt to. The original plan was to extend that and do bucket seats in the front and then do the standard seats in the rear, but they just didn't look good. So I made it more like a truck. See if you can see that right there. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and start up here. I'm not sure about hitting the seats with the black wash yet. I have this black powder, sorry, I keep misspeaking. This Vallejo Sepia wash, I have a rust wash and a black wash coming. They didn't make it by this weekend, unfortunately. I was really hoping to have their black wash to do on the seats, see if it would get into these cracks. But I may just do the sepia wash, see how that looks for now. And if I don't like it, then we might just stir some of this black powder around and see what happens. Because that's what we're here to do, is just experiment, see what works and what doesn't. Prefer everything to work, but it's not how it goes. Sometimes it just comes out bad. I'm gonna go ahead and get behind the seat a little bit. You won't be able to see it because the way the interior is. It's really hard to see much of any of this, but other than the tops of the seats. But I'm gonna do it anyway because we're here. We can see it now, so. Seems like I have a frog in my window over here. Got a lot of frogs lately. It's been raining a ton out here in Texas. I was mowing the yard the other day and there was frogs hopping everywhere, trying not to run them over. There's spiders everywhere too, and I tried to run them over. Not a fan of those. It's gonna be hard to wipe back there, I just realized. Oh well. Alright. Down there. I probably should have took the seats out for this. These are just the factory axial wraith seats. They come gray with the black stickers that you put on. They look horrible with the stickers, I think, but I peeled all the stickers off and painted them this Tamiya brown. I don't know why I have a thing for brown interior. My real truck I just bought, Silverado, has a brown interior. I just love it. I don't know why. It just looks fancy. I just get tired of all the basic grays and tans, and it's nice to have something different. Looks fancy to me, but what do I know? I just live in the country. That's looking pretty good. Alright, make sure we're still focused here. Nope. Come on, camera. Alright. Now we're up to the front. Now that pigment binder it dries a matte finish. So you can see this back here is starting to look a little dull. That's good. That's what we want. We want it to look beige. It's pretty neat. That's almost like its own type of. It's very similar to the Rustall kit Step 3, the flat, ultra flat finish. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and go crazy up here in the front. Get it on the armrest, front and back, between the seats, down in the cup holder. I'm going to go all out here. No, you can't see that part. I don't even worry about that. Get around the seat. go ahead and do the transmission tunnel. I'm only go so far up the firewall here because you can't really see much once the dash is in. Interested to see how we can make the armrest here look something other than green, because obviously your armrest isn't going to be the floor color. This is kind of fun. I always wanted to be a painter. I always wanted to paint, and messed around with oil paint a little bit. Not anything special. Seems like I always paint the same thing, but this is one of those type of deals that how it looks going on and how it turns out are very different. And that was something that I was always pretty impressed with. You see people paint, especially like street painters and street artists, they start with just random lines and it just comes out to this amazing thing at the end, and you just having that vision was always what drew me to wanting to paint, even though I didn't have that vision. I was always very detail oriented, and I couldn't do the abstract kind of blurred lines that it needed to be able to do painting with oils and things like that. So this kind of gives me a chance, because I've seen be able to do that with this. I can just kind of start smearing stuff around and seeing what we got, and somehow, so far, it's always come out pretty good. I'm just going to ride that wave until it stops. I can't get down in some of these cracks here. I have to, there we go. Get creative here. Probably would have been a lot easier to do before we put the interior together. I had to do a lot of experimenting with different glues to get this styrene to stick to that original interior in the front. But again, this was my first real build out of styrene, so it's quite cumbersome. There was a lot of trial and error. I had to re-glue this together. You can see on the bottom here, the glue just along those edges there. And I tried like 5 or 6 different glues, and I'd have to wait days for it to dry between tests, and it would just, I'd get it and it'd fall apart, or I'd put it all together and it would break. It was just a tedious mess. We got a little bit on the seats already. Kind of see how that's going to come out. We might go ahead and do the seats. I'm a little scared. I think we're going to try the black or the sepia wash first. Go ahead and try to zoom you in here a little bit. We'll hit these front bucket seats while we're here. I am going to put the black powder up for a bit, and pigment binder. I got it in front of this fan. I don't want it to dry up. Try to clean the brush off. With all this weathering stuff, I don't really clean brushes much. I did have to use a new brush this time because my other ones are all crusty, and I've run out of solvent and thinner to soften them up. It is what it is. These little brushes, I bought these for like $1.25 on clearance at Michael's, and there's little testers brushes. Alright, so this stuff just squirts out. It's kind of watered down, so I'm just going to squirt it all over and then we'll just brush like crazy and see what happens. And again, we can wipe it down. I guess when I get it all over it and let it set in the cracks for a minute, and then we can wipe the flat surfaces off, and hopefully it adds that depth that we're looking for. Just that extra layer. It looks like there's dirt built up in the nooks and crannies and edges of things. Go ahead and hit the side over here. Well, looks like we got enough of this on the brush. I don't think we're really going to weather the sides much because there's not any cracks. It's pretty neat how this stuff works. I mean, I've always been interested in this. I used to love looking at the scale locomotive stuff and the trains and all the things like that. But I guess it's taken till I'm an adult to finally gather the patience to actually do it. I was never a patient kid. I used to modify stuff and customize. I mean, I was so bad. I used to cut up Hot Wheels and Micro Machines and lower them and put different wheels on different cars. But I never did quality. I just did for the look, and they were all hacked together and held together with hot glue. So now that I'm an adult, I finally seem to be finding a little bit of the patience needed to do stuff. Not necessarily right, because Lord knows we're just making this up as we go, but just to be able to do it and keep trying until we figure it out. It don't look half bad. I don't want it to be perfectly clean, and it's not overly weathered. Just adds a little bit of depth, mainly in the cracks on the bottom and the back. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while I go ahead and do the 3 other seats. I'll make you watch it 4 times. Alright, so a quick update here. I've been doing all the interior, and as you can see, the driver's side, it's the right-hand drive, they look horrible. And that was because I went ahead and did all 3 of those before I started wiping, and it dried enough. So we learned the sepia wash, don't let it set too long. So you can see this seat over here, it's just in the cracks, looks good. This one is all stained up, looks like I let the windows down in a hurricane. But it'll be alright, because this is just this is our guinea pig. And hopefully once it dries completely, they'll look a little bit better. So next up, we're going to go ahead and do the door panels and the dash. Okay, so for the door panels, I think we're going to do the black wash. Or the black pigment, I'm sorry. Call it the black wash. I'm going to go ahead and do one here. See what it looks like. And then all the little cracks. I don't know how it's going to take to this texture on the door panels. That's going to be interesting. That'll come out good. Maybe. Ooh, got a lot in there. So part of this I'm really worried about is the top, because that's the only part you can see from the window. Let that dry for a second. Don't do too much. We'll go ahead and wipe it here pretty quick. Keep it in my light. Oop, I'm over my finger. pretty good. It's in all the cracks. A little bit in the texture. Leave it at that. Put while we're ahead. And hit the other side. I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back. Alright, so I went ahead and did the dash. And I just went over everything, stickers and all. And let it dry for a bit, but I think it's looking pretty good. It's gotten in all the cracks and stuff pretty good, and up in the recesses in the dash. I'm going to let all this stuff dry, and then we'll throw it back together. See what the finished product looks like. Alright, before I put it all back together, I just wanted to show you what this looks like when it's actually dry. This pigment binder, it'd be easier to show you on this one. This door panel got a little more on it than the other one, but you can see how it's really matte finished out now. It's just about dry. There's a little wet up there, but I think that's pretty cool. It really looks like I just brushed on the pigments like I did on my other Hilux back there, except it doesn't rub off now when you wipe it. That was really, this stuff was worthwhile. I think it was around $5 plus shipping, and that really sets off the pigment thing. Allows me to do a lot different things with it now. So I'm going to go ahead and put it all back together now, and then I'll get you the final shot. Alright, so I got it all back together. Can't tell a whole lot of difference. It's subtle. You can see some in the back windows. Probably not from its camera angle, but it's just a learning experience. We just practicing for the cruiser. Not sure if you can let's see if I can zoom in there a little bit. You can see the seats are a little overdone on this side, but I'm still looking around. Hopefully we can stick a driver in there before long. But overall, this truck's pretty awesome. I'm happy with it, with how it looks. It's consistent. The interior is consistent with the exterior now. Once I get some more of my products in, I'm gonna try. Maybe we can take it back apart and do the black wash on the seats. See if we can at least bring out the lines that are in the seat mold. Make it add a little bit more depth to it. That's what I'm trying to say. But for now, it's a good looking truck. It's fun to drive. It's probably one of the most scale trucks I've built so far. I mean, I've been building trucks since the Tamiya High Lift first came out. I had 2 of those trying to make those scale before we had 1.55s and before RC 4-wheel drive was really doing anything. So this to me is really awesome. I know it's just a plastic roof rack, and it's not, the super fancy RC 4-wheel drive cage rack or the RC Model X stuff that nobody can afford. But for me, I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty cool. It's fun to drive. I am going to look into upgrading the shocks, or maybe downgrading, going to just a plain axial shock on it, because these RC 4-wheel drive emulsion dual stage shock spring things, they won't hold oil. Somebody was recommending to put some kind of grease on the O-rings. The O-rings on them are tiny. I don't know that it's worth it. To me, though, the axial kit shocks, those cheap plastic shocks, you can get a set of them for like $15 on eBay. They work pretty well. That's what I've got on a lot of my high lifts. You can't beat that. They perform. You can get the dual spring rate. A lot of people are into those RC 4-wheel drive King shocks, but from what I've seen from RC 4-wheel drive shocks, I don't know that they're going to be any better. There's going to be a leaky mess that doesn't perform like it's supposed to. I don't know that for a fact, but based off of these kit shocks, I'm not going to trust RC 4-wheel drive for shocks anymore. I love the stuff they do. I love the bodies. I love the Jalon 2 chassis is very well laid out. Just needs a shock upgrade. So I may hear that may be a video coming up pretty soon I'm going to put on some axial shocks. I've still got several sets laying around with both the dual spring rate and the single spring. I might try those out on here and see if that helps the performance, because right now that one has oil in the front, that one doesn't, back one doesn't, back one doesn't. So I got one that's held shock oil, and it's been less than a week since I filled them up, and I haven't even driven it yet, and it's just leaking out on the table. So not to my liking. I hate shocks that leak. That's something back from the old stadium trucks in the 90s I had, and you had those cheap plastic Tamiya kits like the TAO2, and those little cheap plastic shocks. They had dual O-rings in them, and they never leaked. And then I got that fancy Associated T2 stadium truck with aluminum shocks. I was all excited, and they leaked like a sieve. I had to fill them up once a week. Every time I drive it, I had to get out and fill them up again. I was going through shock fluid more than I was batteries on them, charging them up. So I'm not opposed to plastic shocks. They seem to seal better for some reason. But you never know. We'll see what we can find. Keep browsing the internet looking for deals. Might run across something, give it a shot, let y'all know yay or nay on it. As always, thanks for watching, and keep checking back to the channel. I will give you a sneak peek here at something I've got going on. I do have this, was a TF2 frame with T-Rex 60 axles, and no more on the T-Rex 60s. They just didn't quite fit right, but that's what I had, so I made it work. And I had that extra bruiser chassis that I just had a roller. I had a leaf sprung and RC 4-wheel drive axles on it. And I finally decided to break down and put the axles on and make an actual Trail Finder 2. So I've never had a real Trail Finder 2. I've pieced this together from just stuff I've bought over the past couple of years since the TF2 came out. And yeah, so we're waiting on some parts. There'll be a video coming up on that, and we'll go from there on it. But thanks for watching. Keep checking back. Please like and subscribe, and share with your friends.